Assalamu alaikum. We're back with Loving Muslim Marriage series. I am Sabah Sayed.
I'm Zeba Khan.
And I'm Usman Mughni.
And today we are going to discuss about female orgasm and the necessity of women climaxing during intercourse. So there is a notion sort of going around, or what you call teaching, that statements that I have heard to like that it's okay, it's normal for women to not climax for 3 to 5 years initially when they become sexually active.
Okay.
Or the advice to basically brothers or men that don't waste your time or don't worry about making your wife climax, because climaxing is not important for a woman. What's important is just the beginning
romance
part,
of it.
the romance of
Okay.
it, bringing flowers or just fondling. But the end result is not important for women, just the hype is.
Okay.
Climaxing is important for men, but it's not important for women.
Isn't that the very definition of sexual frustration?
Yeah. That you don't reach climax, you're about to reach climax, but there's no release, there's no orgasm afterwards. So again, it's a similar concept of not wanting to box people in. I mean, with men, sometimes it even causes physical pain when they're stimulated, but then they're not able to ejaculate. Similar with women, there is this level of frustration if they're not fully satisfied. So just to put it bluntly, it's just as important for a female to be satisfied as well as a male, not just emotionally but sexually.
Right.
Yeah.
But it must go back to that myth and the idea that if men are sexual, therefore they need sexual release. But if women are primarily emotional, then they must not need
Right.
sexual release. They must therefore be fulfilled by the flowers and the foreplay and do not need to ever progress, past a certain point.
Right.
It's kind of
Which is
ludicrous.
Which is, I think it creates a cycle, because a lot of time men come frustrated that, oh, my wife does not want to be intimate, or she's refusing intimacy. And then, like, at least in my experience, when I do speak to sisters, when they feel comfortable opening up, and their primary complaint is that, well, I don't want to, because what's the point? I'm just going to be left frustrated.
Right.
Because either A, my husband does not know about female climaxing, or B, he does not think it's important, or he has been taught that women don't necessarily have to climax at every session, or or they can go up to years without climaxing. So I think it's causing that whole vicious cycle.
Right. Yeah. This is the first time I'm hearing actually about it being okay for a woman to go without climax for several years. I mean, I can only imagine the amount of psychological frustration that would build up. So I mean, in a healthy marriage, I don't see any basis for that being okay, or for a woman being told that it's part of your deen or your anatomy that you don't have an orgasm for several years. But that doesn't hold any basis, at least that I know of. Yes.
So on a societal implication, then, if women are told that they don't need sexual fulfillment, and that marriage is not the place for it, either they have to reject the message that tells them that they're not entitled to sexual fulfillment. Either they reject Islam, if Islam is packaged as this, the idea that a good Muslim woman is asexual and pious and has no needs and never thinks any sort of thoughts.
Right.
Or they seek their fulfillment in other places.
Okay.
Which can be problematic, because if you don't find sexual satisfaction with your spouse,
Right.
where do you seek it?
Right. I've also seen the other end of it, where for some men it's an ego thing. It's a source of pride that they're able to get their spouse to orgasm. So I'm not sure if you've seen that as well on the other end of the spectrum.
I mean, I have seen that, but that, I think, unfortunately, it is more of a thing if they were not religious before, been involved with other women, or they had gotten their information from non-Islamic sources. So, because in other areas, it's discussed in detail, and or they have gotten their source of information is different.
it would be acceptable to take pride in being able to satisfy your wife and that you're happy and she's happy, but would it be healthy for men to associate their value with their performance in bed?
No, not at all. Just like I wouldn't say that it's healthy for a woman to, you know.
Okay.
But no, I'm just saying I've seen cases where, you know, satisfying a woman is also a source of pride, so that it's recognized as her needs are just as important. But, you know, maybe that's more of the exception than the rule. At least.
I don't know. I guess maybe because when we come to the when people want to find out the Islamic perspective, you know, the resources are limited. There are not too many classes that are being offered on this topic.
Right.
And then if the source of information is other sources, then obviously the whole dynamic changes.
Right.
But what our goal is to tell our, you know, Muslim couples and our Muslim society, and especially our youth, that no, these concepts are not acceptable. They're not okay. They have no origin in it. They don't originate from Islam.
Right.
In fact, Islam recognizes, you know, the natural female, the female sexual needs that are natural.
Right.
And the need of climaxing is also natural. I mean, it's interesting because, like I was having a discussion with young girls, like, you know, college age girls, and they also had some of these messed up ideas. Is that, you know, it's not possible for a woman to climax every time, or only 30% women actually enjoy climaxing.
Right.
So where are these ideas are then coming from?
Right, because this is actually scientifically backwards, right? In fact, a woman is able to have multiple orgasms, you know, within one sexual encounter, whereas males in general, it takes, you know, a few minutes, sometimes even up to 5-6 minutes, sometimes a little bit longer, for them to be able to climax and orgasm again. So I mean, this is
right. So it's just as Zeba was saying, that we have these, you know, Hollywood showing that, you know, women can really thrive on multiple orgasms, and then we have these teachings coming up that no, only 10% actually enjoy that.
Right.
So there has to be like a middle ground.
a healthy medium,
Yes, between multiple orgasms set to a full orchestra with cinematography versus one orgasm every 3 to 5 years. You know, the truth lies somewhere in the middle there.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I guess more from a medical perspective, or, you know, as a therapist perspective, what happens when a woman is left frustrated a number of times? So what could happen to her emotionally?
What happens when spouses are frustrated?
Well, I mean, this leaks into other aspects of their life. This leaks into other aspects of not just the relationship, but other aspects of their life. So, I mean, this could be one of the causes of depression. This could be one of the causes of anxiety. This could be, you know, where then the spouse might take their energy elsewhere, right? Focus more on the children, or focus more on their career, right? And, you know, instead of addressing the quote-unquote taboo topic of, you know, I'm not sexually fulfilled in the bedroom, right? The lesser of two evils, I guess, is to just completely shut off and then avoid that. But that's not sustainable, right? So then eventually you have, you know, the husband wondering, okay, why is she so distant, right? And, you know, in extreme circumstances, in extreme situations, like Sister Seba said, that you might even look for sexual gratification outside of the bounds of marriage, right?
Yes.
So,
yes.
yeah.
I have had some sisters, actually, which I was just advising them, and they were coming for spiritual counseling,
Right.
and they were having fears, and, you know, they're like, pray 5 times and hajjabas, and they're feeling really, really bad.
Right.
But they keep telling their husbands that, look, it's important for me too. I need this satisfaction.
Right.
I need to be satisfied. You need to invest more time, and, you know, more sort of make it that it is important for me to make my wife climax. And it was not happening. And then again, the society's pressure, parents don't understand. They can't even go and complain about this thing. What are they going to tell their parents? That I'm not satisfied in bed?
Right.
And then a lot of time parents or the society puts pressure on them. Oh, you know, he's a good man, he's kind, you know, he's a good provider, he's a good father. So look at all these aspects. But this aspect of sexual fulfillment in a woman is really underestimated.
Right. As if it's secondary. It's like you're getting everything else. Why are you complaining about this? But this is sometimes enough to make or break a marriage. So I mean, it does deserve its rightful place in the importance of things in a marriage. Yeah.
Right. I mean, and I don't mean to like compare. Obviously, this is the whole thing that we are doing is we're not generalizing and we're not comparing, but when men have these complaints that my wife is not responding to my sexual calls or anything, this is given a lot of importance.
Right. The malaika are cursing you and all of this. Yeah, right.
Yeah. So it sort of makes our women question about the whole fairness and the justice part in Islam as well. About why is it that men can have men's satisfaction, and again because it's coming from as a religious advice or from religious figures, it obviously is associated to Islam.
Right.
So for them to question, men have more rights in Islam and women's basic rights are not acknowledged, it's causing a lot of not only marital issues, but aqidah issues, and or the responding to the call of progressive calls, or where you want to change Islam.
Well, Islam is perfect. Muslims are not.
Right.
Yeah.
The religion is just.
Muslims
the
are
people are not.
Right.
And so, having said that, we should probably move on to another topic, inshallah, and which we will do. Jazakallah khair.